Hi everyone, here's a quick video of how we're doing the dahlias this year, how we're digging, cutting, dividing, and storing, which is much more simplified than last year's video on YouTube on the True Love Seeds channel if you want to check that out for a deeper cleaning, more dividing, a more kind of complex system because we were selling and we're not selling tubers this year. Anyway, here is Zainab and Amira. And Zainab's gonna show us what they're doing with the cleaning the tubers.
Okay. Hello. We're just cleaning off dahlia tubers, and we're basically cutting off all of these little hairs and shaking away any soil so that we can better see any hairs that are inside, and just making them look as clean as we can so that any of these hairs removed so that they won't rot or anything like that.
Very beautiful, thank you. Okay, so then on this end, now that all the root hairs and tuber tails have been cut off, we cut off the stems. This one's actually ready to be stored because it's a small clump. I'm not dividing it into individual tubers this year. We're taking a year to replenish our stock, and they store better when they're whole like this, in my experience. I'm keeping the label so that I can put it inside the bag for, backup. I'm going to label the outside of the bag and have these on the inside, just in case. And so basically we cut off the stem to like 1/2 inch, and the new growth comes from the crown, which is around the stem. Every tuber is going to regrow from that part where it's connected to the stem. So if you have a tuber without a piece of crown, it will probably not grow. It might grow roots, but not the rest of the plant. So you got to keep a piece of the crown connected to every tuber. And so this is a giant clump. We could store it like this, but this could be easily divided into many smaller clumps, which we can then plant in the spring without having to divide in the spring. So I'm gonna do this kind of intense surgery where I shove this knife right down into the middle and twist to hopefully make this into at least 2 clumps. Just like that. That already took off this clump. So that one's pretty nice. I'm gonna cut this tuber that's broken at the neck because that will just die and rot. If it's broken at the neck like this and floppy, it won't survive the winter. It won't grow. I'm taking off pieces of the mother tuber. This is the tuber we planted last year that it grew from, and this one's rotting. And you can see pill bugs, roly-polies on it. So I'm trying to get rid of any creatures so they don't have to live in a bag all winter. That can be 1 clump. I could easily make this 2 clumps like this. And then it gives me more to work with next year. And I'm just gonna keep going in here and trying to break apart more pieces of more clumps. So again, I'm gonna look for, this one has broken skin, but the neck itself isn't broken. I would say it's like a 50-50 chance of this one surviving the winter, but I'm gonna take it just in case. I don't want there to be things rotting in storage to cause more rot on its neighboring tubers. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep going, maybe get a couple, 3 or 4 more clumps from here, and then we store them. This year, we're just storing them in bags labeled like this. And it really varies by climate. This works for us here in the Philadelphia area, just as is in a cardboard box. And we keep them labeled, keep them in the basement with some humidity control. And for us, that works. In another part of the country, you might find that they dry up too much or that they are too wet. So you got to talk to people who grow dahlias where you're living just to find out what works for them. Again, normally we would divide them into the individual or 2 tuber kind of, might make this into 2 divisions or 3, and then put them in peat moss in a container that's closed, like a plastic container with peat moss, and that works really well for us if we're selling tubers. And we would have washed it off first, also with water. Which we don't want to do in this case because the soil really helps moderate moisture. It's like a way that it'll keep it from drying out too much or getting too wet. So that's our method, and we're going to keep them in the basement. In my house, it gets around 60 degrees all winter in our basement. They probably would prefer 50 degrees. but 60 works just fine for us. You don't want them to freeze, and the hotter it gets, the more likely they will rot. So that's how we do it. Thanks for watching.
So that they won't rot or anything like that. Just cleaning up the just